Today, we are going to talk about how to create a social media strategy that works. So I am Ava, and today, this is going to be an outline of our presentation. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am. We are going to go over an overview of social media platforms, the steps to creating a social media strategy, content you should be creating, trends you should and shouldn't be following, repurposing content, and tips for avoiding creator burnout. Seems like a lot, but are you guys ready to learn? Are you sure? You ready to learn? It's social media, yeah? Okay, so let's start off with me. Who is Ava? Yes, it's pronounced Ava, not Ava. Ava like lava. So y'all can remember that. I am a travel creator. I am a first-gen Filipina American, San Francisco Bay Area based. Any Bay Area people here? Yes. California people here? Hey, okay. So in my former life, before being a travel creator and content writer and strategist, I was an English teacher in South Korea for 4 years. So that led me to traveling a lot, and I moved back to California right at the beginning of the pandemic just because my contract for teaching in South Korea was ending. And because of the pandemic, I kind of had to pivot what I was doing, and I decided to go into freelance writing. Going into freelance writing led me to doing social media and social media management and strategy, and so that's where I'm at today. But at the beginning of the pandemic, I joined the Nomadic Network, and today I am the San Francisco chapter leader. And that also led me to being Flight's content editor. Flight is the nonprofit organization that Matt started. So I was volunteering with them just like on a weekly basis. And last summer, Flight's executive director, Carmela, told me that Matt needed a little bit of help. So last summer, I started working on the Nomadic Matt team, and now I am his social media manager. So I help run his social media channels behind the scenes. And I have also been running the TravelCon Instagram. So all the posts that you guys see, all the reposts and everything, that's all me. So put a name to a face. And while I'm not doing all of that, I am just, the cool traveling auntie in my family. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. So first, let's start off on why you should be on social media. But before I tell you why you should be on social media, I want you to turn to somebody to your left or to your right and tell them why you are on social media. Tell them why you use social media. All right. Does anybody want to share why they are on social media? All right. Connections and drive awareness about your blog, okay.
I use mine as like an online diary. So,
Okay.
like funny things my kids say, I put on social media, I put pictures, and that way when they get older and when I get older, and it's senile, I can still remember the things that they were.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Maggie. Perfect. Engaging with community. Okay. So one more. Maribel?
I started my social media account because I needed to find a way to keep myself motivated through cancer treatment.
Awesome.
And so it would help me reflect on my past travels and feel engaged, in the treatment itself and looking forward to a time when I wouldn't have to be in cancer treatment.
Yes, awesome. So I'm just hearing, connections, memories, engagement, community, and that is all great because one of the big reasons you should be on social media is for connection, right? And if that's connection through building a community, whether that's reaching your target audience for your blog or your vlog or your podcast, connection through gaining new followers for your blog, finding new clients for business, because that's how I found my clients as a freelance worker, and also collaborating with brands. Just a little bit about how social media has helped me in all of those aspects. It has helped me to build my community throughout the last 2 years, because even though I lived abroad in South Korea prior to coming back home, I actually didn't feel like I had a big travel community. I had my friends who are also teachers in Korea, but I didn't feel so much that I had people who looked like me, who had the same passions as me, and who were part of a whole travel community. And so when I started my platform, my Instagram in 2020, I started connecting with the people, just online and everything. And in the last few months, I've been able to meet a lot of these people in real life. You can see all the ladies that I've met at Wanderfest. In the middle is a picture of me with 3 other Filipina creators. And as a Filipina, like just personally, I never felt that I saw other people doing that because of cultural pressures and everything. So that has been great for me. On the top right is that's a picture from the San Francisco Nomadic Network relaunch, which was just last month in March. So we had a good turnout. There was about 15 people who came. And also, just building that community, I have met some of my best friends and best travel partners. On the bottom there is Leah, who's also in the audience. Shout out. So social media has been great for those connections. Another way that social media has helped me is to build another stream of income through brand collaborations. On the left, you can see that I partnered with a brand for, it's a local wine brand in California, so a little bit of influencer marketing there. And then also on the right, using social media to tag brands just when you're traveling, whether it's for partnerships or not, or just to create awareness. Leah and I were actually in this marketing campaign for a local ice cream brand in Hawaii when we went there in February. We tried the ice cream sandwiches the night before, we tagged them on social media, and they're like, hey, did you know about our photo shoot coming up, for our marketing photo shoot? And we're like, no. And they said, yeah, come out, and you'll get free ice cream sandwiches, and we'll take some pictures. And if you see us on Uncle's Ice Cream Brand, yes, that's us. And also, the latest way that social media has created a connection for me is that through the Instagram post that you see on the left, an online magazine, Pilgrim Magazine, reached out to me about this post because it was about getting homesick for food, and they asked me if I wanted to write an article for their magazine. So again, another way of creating another stream of income, but also just connecting with people and connecting with readers. So that piece was published just last week. It's my first byline piece. So if y'all want to read it, it's on my website. But enough about me. Let's go over some social media platforms. I just kind of picked like a handful of them, kind of the most popular ones. And just wanted to let you guys know that all the things I'm going to teach you today are kind of for building the foundations of social media and using social media. So I'm not going to teach you how to go viral, how to grow your followers in like a week or anything like that. It's kind of really just building those roots. So let's start with Facebook. So Facebook, according to Statista, is it's the most popular platform ranked by monthly active users. There's about 2.91 billion users on there. And what it's great for is resharing old or updated content. If you're a blogger or a vlogger, you can post direct links. So we do a lot of that on the Nomadic Nat social channel when we update posts for you guys. It's also great for community building and collaborating through Facebook groups, whether you want to guest post on another person's blog, whether you are building your own travel community or community otherwise. You can create a Facebook group and have people interacting and engaging with each other. So that's very easy because everybody uses Facebook. So you're on there, you're on these platforms, and people can add you to groups, can recommend you, can tag you, and everything. Next up, we have YouTube, which is the second most users with 2.56 billion active monthly users. And you probably already know that it's great for long-form video content. As you can see here, Ali Abroad, she gave a presentation on how to be fearless in front of the camera yesterday. She creates these travel vlogs, which are like 10 to 20-minute videos, and it's just a great way to put that long-form content out there. But also YouTube has YouTube Shorts, and which is great for like teaching and learning, and it's also a great way to do like how-to content. An example of somebody who does this really well is Christine Lozano, who was our drone pilot drone workshop teacher. So she has a lot of just tips and just how-tos on teaching people how to use drone in these short form pieces of content. So it's not like you having to sit there and watch a whole long video. And then of course Instagram. We have Instagram, which is great for short form content, whether it's videos and reels. You can do mini blog posts, you can share blog photos. As you can see here, Alex in Wonderland, she did the talk yesterday about how to do group tours, how to run group tours. And there's a little post here about one of her trips, and it was kind of a mini blog on what to do or best seasons to go. So, if you don't want to write a whole post on your blog, this is a great way to share it on social media. And then Instagram is also great for influencers and brand collaborations. One of my clients is an influencer marketing agency, and a lot of brands do Instagram collaborations because that's just kind of been the norm in influencer marketing, even though it's branching out now. So you'll see a lot of sponsored posts and everything on Instagram, and like this one from Hey Sierra, who talked about getting brand deals yesterday. Did anybody go to that talk? Yeah, how was that? It was good? Amazing, I bet. Yeah, I went to another one, but she does this really well on her platforms. Through Instagram, you can also build community through your Instagram stories, and you can also get more personalized in your stories because they only live on your feed for 24 hours. Lately have been getting very vulnerable on my stories and very personalized on my stories because a few months ago I went through a really rough breakup, and I've just been kind of talking about how travel has been healing in that and everything. And Erica Hackman, who's the director of the Nomadic Network, she's like, you're the most vulnerable person that I've seen on your Instagram stories. She's like, but I love it because people connect with you. And she's right, because I have been getting a lot of DMs from people who just reach out and appreciate it and appreciate the fact that we're able to share and be personable in stories, and who can relate and who would say, oh, I'm kind of going through something similar and I didn't really know that anybody else was. So using Instagram stories and hopping on there daily, whether it's just a few stories here and there, is a great way to build that community. And growth may not be as quick on Instagram these days, as you may not grow as quick as you would on TikTok or anything, but Instagram is great for nurturing the community that you already have. A lot of people use Instagram to drive traffic from YouTube or from TikTok. They'll say, follow me on Instagram and everything, and so a lot of their followers might be a community that they already have from other platforms. So here's just kind of an example of how I use stories. I use all of the different features in stories, whether it's the slider, the polls, asking a question. Right there you can see on the top right that I was stressed that one day, and so I was asking people for tips on how they deal with stress, and then just sharing your travels as well. TikTok. So I just started dabbling in TikTok not too long ago, but TikTok is great for short form video content. You can make it like Reels, but also you can make videos longer than Reels. I think TikTok has up to 3 minutes right now, but I heard that they're doing maybe up to 10-minute videos. So that's longer than Reels, which is only up to a minute right now. The great thing about TikTok is that there's a very quick learning curve. I feel that it's more user-friendly than creating Reels. And it's really easy to just get on there, get your clips, record a video, and get it up and posted. TikTok is built for high reach. That came from like the TikTok Creators Academy. That the way that they built their platform is for people to get that higher reach quicker than other platforms. And it's because of that, it's easier to go viral on TikTok. And if you do, one video can change your life, and you can get that big following with just one video. Last, we have Twitter. Twitter is very great for short form content. It's not as labor intensive, so it's easy to create like multiple posts in a day because one tweet is like 280 characters. But you can also post direct links as well. It's a great way to use, you can use threads to repurpose blog posts as well. And I learned this yesterday in the freelance writing workshop with Travis Livius and the Travel Bite. I know people by their social media handles, not by their names, and Charu. So they said that it's actually a great resource for freelance writers. So if anybody here in the crowd is a freelance writer and looking for ways to connect with editors and everything, Twitter is where you should be on. So now that we have an overview of the platforms, I'm going to let you know about 5 steps to creating a social media strategy. Okay. So first is to set your goals. You want to ask yourself, what is the outcome that I hope to achieve with my social media presence? And here are some examples. Is it to increase brand awareness? Is it to drive traffic to your blog, to generate sales, to grow your community, or is it to monetize through collaborations? So I want you to think for 1 second about what your goal is and turn to the other person next to you and share that goal with them. All right, take 2 volunteers to share. Anyone want to raise their hands? What's your goal for social media? Do I see any hands? Okay. Oh, okay, Maggie, go ahead. I love that. So not only growing your community, but fostering that community so that people can feel less alone. And one more person. Okay, let's go here in the front. Perfect. So knowing where your audience is and targeting your specific audience, which brings me to my next point, is to research your audience. So researching your audience, you want to know, where does your ideal audience spend their time consuming content? Which platforms are they on? How are they consuming their content? Is it through photos? Is it through videos? Is it through blog posts? And you also want to think about who is currently consuming your content, and does that align with your target audience or community? And if it doesn't, do you kind of have to rethink your strategy or rethink who your ideal audience is? The next thing would be to define content pillars within your niche or niche. Who says niche? Who says niche? Okay, I'm gonna stick with niche. So define content pillars within your niche. So you want to have 2 to 4 main content pillars to keep your content consistent, and then other smaller ones to show the different sides of you. When you are creating these content pillars or defining these content pillars, you want to make sure that it stays true to who you are. And so my content pillars, right now are like local travel and travel tips and advice, as well as Filipino American culture. Those are 2 things that are very much me. And my other content pillars, which I post less about, are like digital nomad life and, just my work as a freelance worker. And for content pillars, once you define your content pillars, it's not set in stone. These things can change. When I first started my platform, I was geared more towards sharing like BIPOC travel tales. And I haven't done much of that, which I want to get back into. But another content pillar that I had was long distance relationships, because I used to be in one. And actually that content did very well sometimes, but I'm not in one anymore, so obviously that cannot be a content pillar for me. So it's okay if your content pillars change over time. You just kind of want to, I guess, regularly reassess where you're at with your content and what people are consuming, and define and redefine as you go along. So the 4th thing with creating a social media strategy is obviously to create your content. And when you create your content, a good way to create your content is to batch the content that you're making. So for example, you can, and this is just an example, you can have concept days where you just sit for an hour and write down all the things that you want to make content about. Like, for example, I want to talk about San Francisco neighborhoods. I want to talk about restaurants in San Francisco. Just making that list for what you want to make videos or posts about. Then you have your shooting days. If you're doing videos and reels or TikToks, you want to have shooting days where you kind of just shoot all of your content in maybe like an hour or 2, because you already have your concepts and you have them lined out. And then you can have writing days where you do all the captions and everything. So like I said, this is only an example. This is kind of what works for me and what works for other people, because if you only have to focus on one thing, it's a little bit less overwhelming. Whereas if like, I have to come up with an idea and I have to shoot it now and then I have to write it all in one day for multiple videos or multiple posts, it can get overwhelming. So batching your content a few weeks in advance is a great way to stay less stressed about it. Also use tools like ClickUp and Later. ClickUp is a project management software. Another one similar to it is Airtable. And Later is a scheduling platform. So there's Later, there's Planoly, there's Hootsuite. Those are some of the most popular ones. And then with creating your content, you definitely want to keep up with trends, whether it's trending audios or just what people are posting about. You want to spend some time during the week to see what's trending. And you might already do this when you consume your content on a regular basis. Just kind of keep notes as to what's trending. So sometimes I'll just be on Instagram just looking at my friends' posts or whoever's posts, and I see a trend and I'm like, okay, I want to create content with that. I'll just have a running list on notes on my phone to keep my ideas all in one place. And when there are new features on platforms, you definitely want to take advantage and start using all those features. So if, like, one of the new features is that TikTok rolled out stories for their platform. So a lot of people are starting to use stories on TikTok rather than just Instagram. One thing that you can do to make creating content easier as well is to create theme days or make a series. So example is Travel Tip Tuesday. So every Tuesday you're gonna share a travel tip, and that way you can kind of keep it consistent and you don't really have to be like, okay, what am I gonna post on Tuesday? Oh, it's Travel Tip Tuesday, I know I'm gonna post a travel tip, right? And then you also want to repurpose content, which I'm gonna get into later. I have a whole section on it. And then you want to focus on consistency and not virality. So if you were in Jeff's talk, he said that it takes 4 months of consistent posting for people to realize you, to realize who you are. So being consistent is the goal here and not going viral, right? Because if you're consistent, the virality will come if you're creating content with value. And when you create with your why in mind, why you're on social media, why you want to help your community. And it doesn't need to be perfect, because if you're creating with your why in mind, it'll show through the captions that you write, through the videos that you make. And nobody is 100% perfect on social media, so create with your why in mind and just put it out there. And the last step is to assess what's working and what's not. Looking at your insights to see what's resonating with your audience will help you to create more content that aligns with what they like. And one great way to do this is to have, or one way you definitely need to do this, is to have a creator account for like Instagram, for TikTok. And all you need to do is just to go into your settings and change your account type. And it'll show you all of your insights, like who your followers are, who your demographic is, like how many people liked your posts, how many people it reached, and all of that. So you'll get all of these analytics, and you should probably look at them, I'd say like on a monthly basis is a good time to look at them. And to assess what's working and what's not, you can also survey your audience to see what they like and don't like. Whether that's posting a question in one of your posts, or using stories like the polls, the quiz features, and different things like that. So ask them what they like so you know what to post. I mean, if you're creating content and it's not resonating with them, you're kind of just making yourself work a little harder. So, ask your audience, ask your community what they like, and get ideas from them. All right, you guys still with me?
Yes.
Yeah? We're learning good stuff?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, cool. So here are some types of content that you should be creating. Overall, video content right now is king and queen, right? According to a Cisco study a few years ago, 82% of online content by 2022 will be through videos. And guess what? It's 2022. So if you're not creating video content right now, you definitely should be, and you should work that into your content strategy. So here are 4 types of content that you should be creating. The first one is inspirational content. Inspirational content is a way to inspire and empower others through sharing your story and your why. Because being on social media, we're all unique. We all have our own stories. Nobody knows your story like you do, right? So you want to share your story because your voice needs to be heard. And examples of this are sharing your journey, or doing like a before and after type of thing. One of the reels that I created is, this is what it looks like when one of your dreams comes true. And it was about my journey of how I got to be a TravelCon speaker and be on the stage here with y'all today. So I posted that a few months ago, and just kind of showed people what my journey was like. The next type of content you should be creating is educational content, which will help you to build your credibility and authority on a topic. Examples of this can be travel tips or travel hacks, your travel recommendations, and your how-tos. If you keep talking about something and you keep it consistent, people will trust you. They'll trust your word. Your community will trust what you have to say when you recommend something, or when you give them a travel tip and teach them how to do something. Somebody who does this very well is Onika, the traveler. So one of the things she talks about is how to find remote work, because she's been traveling the world. So she made this reel on 6 websites to find remote jobs, and then she listed those 6 things. The next type of content you should be creating is relatable content, and you can use this to show how you go through the same things as your audience does. Because when we're on social media, sometimes people will see it and it's just like a highlight reel, and they'll be like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do what Ava does, or I can't do what Leah does. But relatable content shows that you're not perfect, that we're just like everyone else. We're just like the people sitting next to us. So examples of this for travel creators would be like travel fails or addressing pain points. One of those pain points for me is that I am a horrible packer. I pack hours before my trip. So I made this reel, and it was like, do you pack early for your trips? And I really try, but I just can't. And so I use this reel to show that I'm not the best packer and ask my audience, my community for tips on how they, pack for their trips. And the last type of content you should be creating is entertaining content, which will make people laugh or trigger feelings like curiosity or shock. It can also be ways to share like controversial opinions on things, and it's also one of the best ways to showcase your personality. Some examples of this can be like behind the scenes or expectations versus reality. And somebody who did this really well is actually Gabby of Pax Light. And so she did this reel on the Dead Sea, expectations versus reality. If you can't see, it says, the Dead Sea is 30% salt concentration, meaning you float and burn alive if you've shaved anything in the last 3 days. And the audio on this was, why is it so spicy, right? And so, it's like a 3-5 second reel, 3 or 5 second reel, but it's funny, but she's also teaching you that about the Dead Sea and its salt concentration, right? So that is a great piece of entertaining content. All right, so let's move on to social media trends that you should or shouldn't follow. I'm gonna go over 3 things for each category, starting with the trends you should be following. Again, video content is king and queen, so you should be creating it, whether it's short form or long form. You don't have to do both. You can pick one or the other, or you can do both if you are ambitious. I'm not, so I'm not that ambitious, to create long-form video content. But whether it's short, whether it's Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikToks, or whether it's long tutorial videos, you should be creating video content in one way or another. Another type of content you should be creating is carousel posts. Some people might call them infographics, and this is just a way to educate your community more. And when you make a post like this, if you've seen this on the TravelCon Instagram, so I made this one about the session speakers, and it's like a swipe through. So there's 10 slides in this, and people will swipe through it, and they spend more time on your page consuming your content if you have these carousel posts, because you can put different details in each slide, and then also use the caption to give them a little bit more information. But the longer they spend on your page looking through the slides, the more they're gonna consume your content, right? And it's also just an appealing way to present the information rather than just writing it all out, because sometimes people don't wanna read a long caption, right? Who feels me? I don't want to read a long caption sometimes. All right, and the last trend you should be following is to have a more humanized and relatable social media. So in a lot of ways, we're moving away from those perfect Instagram feeds, those curated Instagram feeds and everything, and we're kind of creating that connection again, right? We want to show people who we are, and you want to use your community as your support network. This is something that Matt said on the first day when we all gathered here for the kickoff, that your community is your support network. And the more humanized and relatable that you are, the more they will connect with you. And as Jeff Goins said this morning, as creatives in what we do, whether it's writing, whether it's photographing, whether it's Instagramming, blogging, vlogging, podcasting, we're making the world a better place, right? So we should be showing who we are rather than trying to be somebody that we're not. And when it comes to trends, these are 3 things that you should avoid. 1, doing what everyone else is doing, because just like I said, we all have our own story, we're all unique in our own ways, so why do we want to copy somebody else, right? 2 is posting irrelevant content that doesn't provide value. An example of this would be pictures with only emojis as captions. You know, people might not really understand why you do that, or just posting something that's just way off out of your niche and way off your content pillars. That's just doesn't really belong on your social media. And number 3 is obsessing over your number of followers. You don't need to have 10,000 followers these days to create an impact, to even to get brand collaborations, to grow that community. I have been nervous for this talk this whole like last few months, but I have been going into it saying that if I make a difference with one person, that's one person I made a difference for. So if you're obsessing over your number of followers, saying like, I don't have a lot of followers, so I'm not gonna post, please stop, don't. Because you are impacting at least one person out there, I guarantee you, if not more. All right, you guys still with me?
Yeah.
Yeah? Woo, woo, woo. Okay, we're gonna talk about repurposing content or content recycling. So what is repurposing? Basically, it's just taking content that you already have and putting a different spin on it. And why do we want to repurpose? Because 1, it helps you work smarter, not harder, right? Who wants to do more work when you already have something that you can, just rework? It can help you reach new audiences. So if you repurpose something from like Instagram to TikTok, you might not have the same following on each platform, so different people are seeing your content, even if it's the same piece of content. And it helps to reinforce your message, right? I read somewhere that it takes people like seeing something 7 times online for them to actually buy it online or something like that. And so if you're just posting about something once and then not ever posting about it at all, people are going to forget. So you want to repurpose content and you want to reinforce your message in different ways. And ways that you can repurpose content, here are some ideas. You can turn long-form videos into short-form videos and create a series on it. You can do blog posts into short-form videos. You can make it into a Twitter thread, or you can make it into a carousel post. You can take your Instagram post and expand on it more. Say if you did a mini blog on your Instagram post and you ask people a question, you can use a longer blog post to address the questions or concerns that your community has. And you can also take a podcast episode and create it into a long form video. A lot of podcasts nowadays, I feel, are moving into the more visual podcasting, so they post it on YouTube as well as posting the audio as well. And just some specific examples of this are, you can take one blog post and you can make one TikTok, one reel, one carousel, and 3 to 5 IG stories. That's 4 pieces of extra content right there from one blog post. Say if it's like 10 things to do in San Francisco, I can make one TikTok and present 2 ideas and have a call to action, find the rest on my blog. Make one reel with 2 other ideas or 2 other tips, 2 other things to do, and then redirect them to my blog as well. And then same thing with the carousel, and then 3 to 5 IG stories. You can also take short form video and make it into a longer video or a blog post. Like I said, you can expand on the topic in the longer video or the blog post, and you can use the long form piece of content to answer the comments or questions that your community has. All right, so I know that I've given you a lot, and you're probably thinking like, I don't want to do this. I already feel burnt out with all the things that you're telling me to do, right? I've been there. I was just there like a few months ago. So here are some tips to avoid creator burnout so that you're not feeling exhausted, because as much as social media can feel overwhelming, it's a really great tool for us to use. The first thing that I recommend is to focus on what you can handle and commit to being consistent with that. If that is one platform and posting one post a week, that's okay. You can add on more when you can, If you're consistent and if you say, I can only do Instagram, I can only do one post a week, but I'm gonna post every single week, people will know to expect your one post every single week, right? And when you can handle more, then you can start adding more, saying, okay, I'll post 2 times a week or 3 times a week, or I'll expand into other platforms. So just focus on what you can handle and be consistent with that. 2 is to take days off of social media. I know you might be thinking like, what? You don't always have to be on in real life. One of the things that led me to feeling creator burnout was because I create travel content, I noticed that in a lot of my trips, I was thinking, how can I make this a piece of content? What can I create content for, like, on this trip? And it really led me to kind of hate social media a little bit because I was enjoying my trips in a different way. So a couple of months ago, when I went to Whistler right before Wanderfest in NOLA, I knew that I was going to meet other creators in NOLA at Wanderfest, and so I went on my Whistler trip and said, I'm not even gonna think about like taking out my camera or like videos or anything. I'm just gonna be here, be present with my brothers. It was their birthdays. They wanted to go skiing and snowboarding. I fell down the mountain, and it was great. I don't have any of that on video or photos, but it was what I needed. So take days off of social media, whether that's 1 day a week, because we need to take care of ourselves, and it's a great way to do self-care. Number 3 is to use online tools to help you balance everything. Use project management software. Like I said, I personally use ClickUp, which I like. Our Nomadic Network team uses Airtable, which they absolutely love. So those are just a few. I know there's like Asana and Notion are some other popular ones, and there's another one that I used to use, but I can't think of. But those are some of the more popular ones that people use. And then scheduling platforms to schedule posts in advance. So when you're batching your content, after you do your concept days, your writing days, your shooting days, then just schedule everything, and then you don't have to worry about it, and it'll go out on time. Some of the ones that people use are Later, Meta Business Suite, so your Facebook and your Instagram are connected, and Hootsuite. For the longest time, most of the scheduling platforms, and I don't know if they still do, weren't able to schedule Instagram stories, but insider tip, Meta Business Suite, you can schedule stories, Instagram stories, using that. So if you're looking for that, that is a great tool to use. Number 4 is if you do experience burnout, if you're just absolutely hating it, if you feel like the overwhelm and you just feel like you can't do it, don't force it. Take a break. Social media should not feel like a chore. Take a step back. If you have to take time off, you have to take a week off of social media and not post. Don't be hard on yourself, because we all go through it. We all have busy lives. Yes, some of us might be creators for our jobs and everything, but I feel like a lot of us have other things that we do, so social media kind of comes second, right? So if you are feeling a little overwhelmed, take a step back and come back to it. Come back to it when you feel you're ready for it. And number 5 is to remember your why. What got you started in the first place? Why are you creating this content? Why are you putting your voice out there? Because again, your view is unique and nobody else knows it like you do, right? And so you want to share your story, and you want to let the world know about all of the great things that you have to say. So again, so that we all remember our why, turn to somebody and tell them again why you're doing social media. Talk. I want you guys to remember this, so talking about it more helps you remember it. All right. So, great. Great job. Thank you for sharing, everybody. So, I'm going to wrap it up, finally. with some key takeaways. So, as a former teacher, kids, what did we learn today? One, we learned that social media is a great way to drive traffic to your blog, your vlog, your podcast, and to build your business through connections. But you don't have to do it all, right? You don't have to do it all. So just remember that. When it comes to creating content, you want to create some value-based content, whether that's inspirational, educational, relatable, or entertaining content. And 3, social media, the why you should be on social media is for connection. Whether it's through building that community, whether it's to create connections with brands, or whether it's to connect with clients and find work. Social media is for connection. If there's one thing you guys remember from my talk today, I want it to be that, okay? So I know that sometimes, creating content, you can kind of just be like I don't want to create content, or I don't have any ideas. So if that's you, I got you. I got you. I created a 30-day content calendar for travel creators. It's a 30-day calendar with ideas on travel-specific content that you can make. It's a 30-day calendar, but going back to focusing on what you can handle, if that's 1 post a week, it's 30 ideas for 30 weeks, and that's half the year for you, okay? So, so speaking of connection, so the way you can get my content calendar is to connect with me on my socials, scan that QR code, it'll go to my website where you can give me your email and download that content calendar. But you can find me everywhere on Avagail Adventures, and that's it. So we do have time for questions. We have about 12 minutes. So my lovely friend Leah here is going to run the mic.
It's on. We're going to use a mic for anyone who wants to ask a question.
Hi.
Jason?
Oh, go ahead. You go.
Hello. So there was this time when Instagram used to be about photography.
Yes.
So introverts really enjoyed that. Do you have any suggestions for people that really don't want to have their face all over everything?
Still share your photos, because there are people who obviously have photography accounts. And it's really just depends on your community and what they're consuming. Because I have heard of some creators or some influencers saying that their static posts, their photo posts, are actually doing better than their reels. So, I guess it's Leah. So, don't stop posting those photos. If that's your jam, I would say continue posting it. You can incorporate videos without having to show your face. Like I do mini vlogs, come out with me in a day in San Francisco, and it's kind of just B-roll footage showing the neighborhood, showing what I ate, showing what I did without ever showing my face. So there's different ways that you can still create video content without putting your face out there if you don't want to. But, on the topic of showing your face, I will say that at least in stories, hop on every now and then to just kind of talk to your audience, to create that connection, because if they can, put a face to a name, it fosters that connection even more. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, okay. Anybody else?
Hey.
Oh, hi.
Hi. So can you speak to just staying consistent even when you're burnt out and you feel like you need that break? Like you said, take a week off or whatever, but how can you do that when you feel like you should be consistent?
It's really just giving yourself grace, I feel like if you start to establish consistency from the beginning, you're less likely to feel burnt out if you establish those routines, because it'll become it's muscle memory, right? I'm writing my content, shooting my content on Mondays, I'm writing my captions on Fridays, I'm doing this on certain days and batching and creating that routine, then you're less likely to feel less burnt out. But if you do feel burnt out and you're just I just can't do it, really, honestly, you just have to give yourself grace to step back and not be so hard on yourself. I know like, it's easier said than done, but really that's what it is. Just going back to community, like, we're all your support network. So reach out to other creators, reach out to your friends and be like, hey, you know, like, I'm feeling burnt out. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to create content or anything. And you telling them that, I'm sure they are going to hype you up. They are going to tell you why your content matters. They're going to remind you why you're doing what you do. And, you know, we all need that. We all need that, you know, from time to time. We all need people to remind us that we're awesome, that we're doing it, we're crushing it, right? Because all of you did that for me, and why I was able to get through this presentation. So yeah, I mean, just take a step back when you need to, and just be easy on yourself. And if you are ever feeling burnout and need somebody to talk to, I'm here for you, okay? So you have at least one friend to do that with. Okay. Anybody else? Questions?
Is there a platform to schedule TikToks and Reels?
Not yet. I don't think. Don't quote me on this, but I think maybe later might be coming out with that feature soon-ish, or they're working on it, but as of right now, no. So those things you have to post in real time, but you can still batch content by, you know, creating those as drafts beforehand and writing the captions and everything beforehand as well.
Erica? First of all, incredible presentation. Just very valuable. Give her a hand. Thank you. Just thank you for everything. And then I'm just wondering, like, personally, on Avagail Adventures, like, what has been your most memorable post that you've posted about?
I would say posting about, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. So there's two posts. Last year or the year before, I posted about being Filipino American and just letting people know that it's Filipino American History Month in October, and how I, as a Filipino American, I was born and raised in San Francisco, have lived on that hyphen my whole life, the in-between. When I go to the Philippines, I'm not Filipino enough. Here in America, as an Asian woman, I'm not American enough. And that post really resonated with a lot of people. I got a lot of comments. I got a lot of other Pinays relating to it. I got a lot of other Filipino creators who found me through the hashtags on it and started following me because they could relate to my content. So that was a very memorable post. And there was also my breakup reel that went viral a few months ago. It got like 650,000 views. But it was kind of just more so like, you know, like I was posting long distance relationship tips, and I used to get a lot of people asking me in my DMs for like, just like wanting to talk to somebody about it or tips on how, you know, how I make my long distance relationship work. And so it was that reel, it was like a 10-second reel, and it was more so just like, hey, I'm not in a relationship anymore, so I'm not gonna be posting about it, but, you know, like, I'm glad to have helped you all while I was in the relationship. So yeah, those two pieces are the most memorable.
I have two questions.
Sorry. Oh.
First, you said to keep up with trends. And you said like weekly even. Where are some places we can do that?
So you can keep up with trends, like just overall social media trends in terms of like, oh, you should be creating video content, or you should be doing this with your strategy. Stuff like that, I would say use resources like Later, because Later, the scheduling platform Later has a blog on its own, and like Hootsuite has it as well. So follow those scheduling platforms that do talk about social media, and they'll, you know, there's always updates on there. When it comes to specifically like trending sounds and everything, on Instagram, if you're just looking through Reels, there's a little arrow symbol. If you see an arrow next to the audio, that means it's trending. So if you're creating Reels and you want to use trending sounds to get more reach, you should be saving and using those audios for your content.
And my other question is, I've been using this conference to figure something out. So I'm a full-time video producer right now, not doing this, but I want to switch to doing travel vlogging. I'd love to do it in concert with each other, but I can't. You talked about consistency in posts. I can't be posting weekly. Even monthly might be tough right now. So when do I take that leap? When I have like a weekly commitment that I can do, monthly, bi-monthly?
I mean, it's hard to say, you know, it's very much, I mean, no one's ever like 100% ready, right, to take the leap or to do these things. I'd say if you feel like you can create a good foundation, at least to start, you should go from there. But also, Jeff made this very good point in his presentation about content creating, is to ask for help. So if you can get somebody to help you, if you can shoot your videos for your vlog and then get somebody to help you to edit it because you don't have the time, you know, that's a way for you to start creating consistently. Yeah. Maribel.
So I know that we're moving from, oh, thanks. So moving away from Instagram feeds that are so curated, how important is it for marketing agencies that are looking for influencers to look at an Instagram feed that may not be as curated as somebody that has been doing this for, you know, for a longer period of time?
So yeah, just, you know, nowadays, just working with an influencer marketing agency, nowadays brands are actually looking at the actual content of what you're making, rather than just like, oh, this is a pretty like Instagram page or like, you know, like pretty TikTok page and we want to work with this person. They're actually looking at the content to see if you are providing that value, if you're providing, you know, if you align with their brand to promote their products or to promote their services, because they really want to be in line and really, you know, create those communities as well. So they're kind of moving more into, you know, actually checking out whether a creator or influencer is following them, is talking about their product already, or is, you know, like posting about it already, rather than just seeing if your stuff looks pretty. So I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We probably have time for one more question. Lee in the back. Okay, we'll get two more. Okay, so
Vice versa.
in the back
Okay.
and then here.
Hello.
Hi.
I was a little late, so I apologize if you already talked about this.
No
But
worries.
what is your stance on hashtags?
I mean, hashtags can be a whole presentation on its own. Use them, use hashtags, but use them intentionally. You know, you don't want to just be tagging like everything like, oh, travel goals, travel dreams. Like, you know, you want to make it very specific and intentional. I heard they say when you're using hashtags, to use like one that's broad for your niche, and then you want to use like 3 to 5, and these numbers can vary, like Instagram and like social media, like gurus, it varies from person to person, but you know, use one that's very for your niche, and then use like a few that are, say, for your content pillars, and then use a few that are specific to that piece of content. And just an example that comes to mind is like a wedding photographer who posts about winter weddings, so they'll probably use some hashtags about photography. They'll use some hashtags about wedding photography, and then they'll use hashtags on winter weddings. So it's very like niching it down. So I hope that helps. Yeah. Okay. Last question here in the front. Yes.
Okay, you kind of talked about keeping up with trends, but then you also made the point not to do what everyone else is doing. So how do you ride that fine line of like, you know, if there's a, because I know like sometimes on TikTok a certain song or dance will go viral, and it's just like if you get on that, you might get in that like that, I don't know what to describe it, but that little group that everything is popping up along those lines. So like, do you want to hop on those? and try to get those, or you don't worry about it and you just create your original OG stuff?
It's like kind of a mix of both, I would say. You know, definitely use the trending audios, but if there's an audio that's trending and it's like a TikTok dance, you don't necessarily have to do the dance. You can use that audio, but just, present your content, your travel content, how you would, in a style that aligns with your content as well. You don't always have to do, when I say don't do what everyone else is doing, it's like, if there's a trending sound and then people are like, oh, like 5 tips for this. You don't necessarily have to do 5 tips for this, You can put your own spin on it, or just really sometimes people will just use the sounds and not even do the trend at all, but they'll just use it because it's a trending sound and it's in the background, Yeah. Okay, I think we are done with time, but I just want to thank everybody for coming, and if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll see you around for the rest of the weekends. Would love to talk to you all. Thank you.